JinPingMei Original Version Chapter 13. Sister Li Ping makes a secret appointment on the wall and Ying Chun'er peeks behind the wall. It is said that one day Simon King walked forward and went to Yunyang's room. Yunyang said, "Today the servant from the Hua family brought a post to treat you to a drink." Simon King read the post and wrote, "I'm going to talk to Wu Yin's family in the courtyard at noon. I hope you can come with me soon." "Thank you." After a while, I picked my clothes and hats, called to people to follow me, rode a horse, and went to his house first. I don't want Hua Zixu to be away from home. His wife, Li Ping'er, during Jia Yu wore a silver silk bun with a gold-purple Ying pendant, a pair of lotus root silk blouse, and a white gauze skirt with threaded edges, and a pair of red mandarin ducks and phoenixes with pointed mouths exposed on the skirt. Zuo Qiao has his little feet standing on the platform inside the second gate. Then Simon Kingson walked in the door without knowing it, and was bumped into twice. Simon King has been paying attention to this for a long time. Although he met him once at the old village, he never played with it carefully. I met him today. I saw that he was very fair, with a short body, a melon seed face, and thin eyebrows. I didn't realize that his soul was flying to the sky, so I hurried forward and bowed deeply. The woman returned the blessing, turned around and went to the back. He sent for a maid named Shu Chun with hair equal to her eyebrows, and invited Simon King to sit in the guest seat. He stood at the head of the corner door, half showing his charming face, and said, "Sir, please sit down for a while." He just went out to do some trivial matters, so he came here. The maid took out a cup of tea, and Simon King drank it. The woman said from across the door, "Today he invited the high-ranking official to have a drink over there." At least he looked out for the slave and advised him to go home early. The two young men followed him, except for these two maids and slave. There is no one at home. Simon King said, "Sister-in-law is right. Brother's family affairs are important. Since sister-in-law pays for me, I will definitely accompany my brother when he comes." Just as he was talking, Hua Zixu came home, and the woman went back to her room. Hua Zixu saw Simon Qingshu and said, "Brother Meng is down, and I have some unavoidable reasons to go out. I'm not welcome. I apologize." So the guest and host sat down and asked the boy to watch tea. After a moment, "Let's have some tea." Then he told the boy, "Tell your mother, here comes the food. Father Simon and I will have 3 cups and get up." Today, June 24th, is the birthday of Sister Wu Yin in the hospital. Please come and have fun with me. Simon King said, "Second brother, why didn't you tell me earlier?" He ordered Diane, "Go home quickly and ask for 5 coins to seal it." Hua Zixu said, "Brother, why are you bothering? My little brother is here." Simon King saw the tables placed on the left and right. He said, "There's no need to sit down. Let's go inside and eat." Hua Zixu said, "I don't dare to stay for a long time. I'll sit down for a while." Shao King brought all the dishes and brought them up, including 3 tall silver sunflower bells for each person. "Zhang, here are for more burritos." After eating, I put them away and ate them with the horsemen. Shao Qing and Diane got their share of the money, got up and rode together, and went straight to Wu Sima's house to celebrate Wu Yin'er's birthday. There were flowers, people singing, dancing and playing music, and drinking until the first watch. Simon King paid attention and made Zixu very drunk, and because of Li Ping'er's request, he came home with him. The waiter opened the door and helped him sit down at the guest seat. Li Ping'er and his maid came out holding lamps and candles, and helped Zixu in. Simon King made it clear that he would sue. The woman came out, thanked Simon King, and said, "I'm a drunkard. I'm so tired. I'm sorry for you. I'm waiting for you to come home. I don't want you to laugh at me." Simon King hurriedly bowed down and said, "I don't dare. My sister-in-law is here to share the expenses. I dare not bear this in mind and come home with my brother. My sister-in-law is not the only one who is worried. It seems that I can't do anything anymore." Brother Kai was at his house just now and was entangled by those people. I urged him. Brother got up. He walked to the home of Zheng Xianger, a fan at the front door of Lexing Hall. His nickname was Zheng Guanyan. He was a good-looking person. Brother was about to go to his house. I stopped him again and persuaded him. "I'm afraid my sister-in-law at home. Don't worry. I've been coming home just now. If I go to Jung's house, I won't come all night. My sister-in-law is here. It's not my place to say. My brother is also confused. And my sister-in-law is young. How can I lose this big family and be away from home all night? What's the truth? The woman said. That's right. Because he is acting like this outside and doesn't listen to anyone. I'm so angry that I'm sick here. From now on, when high-ranking officials meet him in the courtyard, they'll be fine. Seeing the slave's bad face, I advised him to go home early. The slave's kindness will be repaid, so I don't dare to forget it. This Simon King is a person who has been slapped on the head and the soles of his feet have been slapped. He has been in trouble for many years. What does he not know? Today, the woman has clearly opened a big road and taught him to enter Hong Kong. Wouldn't it be wise to speak plainly? So she said with a smile on her face. What are you talking about, sister-in-law? Why do you want to make friends? I will try my best to admonish my brother. Sister-in-law, don't worry. The woman said another blessing and asked the little maid to bring a cup of nuts to make tea. After Simon King finished his tea, he said, I'll go back. My sister-in-law will check the door carefully. Then he said goodbye and went home. Since then, Simon King has been plotting against this woman. He has repeatedly arranged for Earl Ying, Zizida and other people to hang her up in the courtyard and spend the night drinking. He left and came home, standing at the door. This woman also often leads to maids at the door. When Simon King saw it, he raised his voice and coughed. He walked east and west, or stood at the opposite door, staring at the door. The woman's figure was in the door. When she saw him coming, she ducked and sighed. When she saw him passing by, she poked her head out to take a look. The two eyes, thoughts and feelings are already expressed without words. One day, Simon King was standing at the door when he suddenly saw the little maid Zhu Chun coming to invite him. Simon King asked deliberately, What do you want me to do, sister? Is your father at home? Zhu Chun said, My father is not at home, so I would like to ask Simon King's father to ask me a question. Simon King said in disbelief and quickly come over and sit down in the guest seat. After a long time, the woman came out, wished her all the best, and then said, I received so much kindness from the officials the day before yesterday. It is engraved in my heart and I can't understand it enough. He left yesterday and hasn't come home for 2 days in a row. I don't know if the officials have ever seen him. No, Simon King said. Yesterday he was having a drink with 3 or 4 people at Jung's house. I happened to come over because of something small. I didn't have to go in today. I don't know if he is still there. If I were there, I'm afraid my sister-in-law would be worried. Is there anyone who doesn't urge me to come home early? The woman said. That's exactly what you said. The slave eats evil because he doesn't listen to others and sleeps in flowers and willows outside without caring about family affairs. Simon King said, on the topic brother, it's good in terms of benevolence and righteousness, but there's just one thing. After saying that, the little maid brought some tea to eat. Simon King was afraid that Zizou would come home, so he didn't dare to fall in love for a long time, so he had to leave. The woman warned Simon King again and again. It doesn't matter where I go, at least I can persuade him to come home early. I will definitely repay my kindness and never forget the official, Simon King said. Sister-in-law, I have nothing to say. We are so close to each other. After saying that, Simon King went to his house. The next day, when Hua Zixu came home from the courtyard, the woman complained again and again. You were out drinking and having sex. Thanks to the high official from Ximen next door. He came to visit you twice, and repeatedly. Thank you for buying me some gifts. He will not lose his favor. Na Hua Zixu quickly bought 4 boxes of gifts and a jar of wine, and sent Tian Fuer to Simon King's house. Simon King accepted it and rewarded the visitor generously. Wu Yunyang asked, How did the Hua family give you this gift? Simon King said, Brother Hua invited us to celebrate Wu Yin'er's birthday in the courtyard the day before yesterday. He was drunk, and I helped him come home. I also met Chang Xiwan. I persuaded him to stay the night and come home early. His wife felt my affection for this and wanted to tell Brother Hua, so she bought this gift to thank me. After hearing this, Wu Yunyang asked him about it and said, My brother, you should take care of yourself. and you are trying to persuade the Earth Buddha to do so. You are also away from home all day long, raising a daughter and having a wife. And you are trying to persuade other men. He also asked, "Did you accept this gift from him in vain?" Yin asked, "Whose name is written on his post?" "If it is his wife's name, if he writes my post today and invites his wife to come and sit down, he will only come to our house for a walk. If it is his manly name, whatever, I don't care whether you invite me or not," Simon King said. "That's brotherhood's name. I'll invite him tomorrow." The next day, Simon King really treated the wine, invited Hua Zixu, and drank wine for a day. After returning home, Li Ping'er said, "Don't miss out on etiquette. We gave him a gift, and he invited you over for a banquet of wine. You should treat him to a banquet of wine another day. Just as a return party, time flies. And it's September, and the Double Ninth Festival is early." Huazi called to prostitutes under false pretenses and invited Simon King to come over and admire the chrysanthemums. He also invited the Count, Zizida, Zhu Xinian and Sun Tianhua to accompany him. Flowers are passed round, drums are played, and people drink happily. There is poetry to prove it. The cycle of the Black Rabbit is like an arrow. And the Double Ninth Festival is the Double Ninth Festival in the world. Thousands of mangrove branches are covered with autumn colors, and 3 yellow flowers emit a strange fragrance. I don't see the black-hatted people who climb high, but I still want to hold the wine and the beautiful lady. They looked at each other privately under the beautiful curtain, and their kindness was never forgotten from then on. That day, after everyone was drinking and lighting the lamps, Simon King suddenly got down from the table and went outside to relieve himself. Unexpectedly, Li Ping'er was standing by the wooden cover and peeking, and the two of them bumped into each other, and Simon King couldn't avoid it. The woman walked to the west corner door, secretly made Shu Chen walk to Simon King in the dark shadow, and whispered, "My mother asked me to tell Simon's father, eat less wine and go home early. In the evening, mother is like this, I want to talk to Father Simon." Simon King was overjoyed after hearing this. After returning from urination, he didn't even drink wine at the banquet. He sang and handed wine round, just pretending to be drunk and not eating. At the first watch, Li Ping'er couldn't help but come to Lian Wai, seeing Simon King sitting on it. He just wanted to take a nap. Earl Ying and Zizida were as if they were nailed to chairs and could not get up. Zhu Xinian and Sun Sizui also went there, but they were still there. Li Ping'er is in a hurry. Simon King had already come out, but Hua Zixu refused to let go and said, "I'm so disrespectful today. How come I don't want to sit down for nothing?" Simon King said, "I'm drunk and can't eat." So he deliberately staggered round. I talked to people to help him go home. Earl Ying said, for some reason today, he refused to drink wine for nothing. He got drunk after not much wine. Since the boss is so troubled, it's hard for the two sisters to come here and bring a big bell. We will have a big meal every Thursday and 50. Will, let it go. Li Ping'er heard from outside the curtain and kept scolding him as a slut-faced prisoner. He secretly sent Tianshire, the young man, to invite Hua Zixu to come, and said to him, "Since you want to eat with this group of people, you can eat with me in the courtyard as soon as possible. Don't make any noise at home. I'll have to boil oil and waste heat at midnight. Be patient," Hua Zixu said. "I will go to their courtyard with them tonight, but I can't come home, so don't bother me again." The woman said, "Go, I won't bother you anymore." This flower Zixu couldn't help but walked over and said to everyone, "Let's go to the courtyard." Earl Ying said, "Really? Don't coax me. Go and ask my sister-in-law to come so we can get up." Zixu said, "Fang, I just told you to teach me to come home tomorrow." Zishi said, "But come on, don't talk about eating Ying Wazi yourself. I just asked for help, so we can go without worry." So he even said the two singers got up and entered the courtyard together. It was already the second watch, and Tianfu, Tianshire, Hua Zixu and 3 other people went to Wu Yinera's house in the back alley to have a drink. Dan Bao Simon Qingtui got home drunk and walked to the Golden Lotus room. As soon as he took off his clothes, he went to sit in the front garden and waited for Li Ping'er to invite him. For a long time, I could only hear the dogs driving away and closing the door. Xiaojing saw the maid Yingshan scratching the wall in the darkness, pushing and calling the cat, and saw Simon King sitting on the pavilion and delivering a message. Simon King picked up a table and stool to stand on, and secretly climbed over the wall, where a ladder had been set up. Li Ping'er sent Zixu away. He had already taken off his crown, and stood under the corridor with dark clouds in his arms, naked body and heavy makeup. Seeing Simon King coming, he was overjoyed and hurriedly welcomed him into the room. Under the lamps, a table of wine, food, fruits and vegetables has been arranged, and the pot is full of fragrant mash. The woman held up the jade with both hands and handed it to Simon King in person, saying a deep blessing. I always thank the officials. And the officials took the trouble to repay them, which made the slave family feel uneasy. Today, the slave has become autonomous. A glass of light wine, please. Invite the officials over. Let's talk a little bit about the slave. Then he bumped into two damn salivating faces, and just sat there. The slave was too anxious. I even sent him to the courtyard to eat just now. Simon King said, "Are you afraid that the second brother will come home again?" The woman said, "The slave has paid for the night and will not come." The two boys have followed. There is no one in the house, just these two girls. A Fang mother look at the doorkeeper. He is the confidant of the slave's adopted mother. The front and back doors have been closed. Simon King was very happy after hearing this. The two then folded their arms side by side, exchanged cups, and drank together. I pour wine next to Yingxun, and go back and forth to get vegetables during Shuchan. When the wine was strong, the fragrant mandarin duck quilt and corals were placed in the brocade tent. The two maids moved away from the wine table and dragged them to the door. The two go to bed and have sex. It turns out that my family has a 2-story window dormitory, with a window on the outside and a dormitory in the inside. The woman sent the maid out and closed the 2 windows inside the room. There were lights and candles in the room, so she could not see the outside. This Yingshan girl, who is 17 years old this year, knows the situation quite well. When she saw the two of them cheating tonight, she quietly went to the window, held up the hairpin on her head to sign the paper on the broken window, and peeked inside. How do the two people at the end communicate? But see, in the shadow of the light, in the shark gauze tent, a jade arm is hurriedly waving, and a golden lotus is held high. A warbler chirped, and a swallow murmured, "It's like Zhan Rui meeting Ying Niang, or Song Yu stealing the goddess." The oaths made by mountains and seas are faintly heard in the ears. Butterflies love bees, but they give up if they fail. Exactly, being turned over by the red waves, a clear sense of connection is revealed in the chest. The tent is pulled with a silver hook, and the eyebrows are curved and the jade face hangs down. The two people in the room were surrounded by clouds and rain. Unexpectedly, Yingxun was outside the window, and they could hear and see clearly. I heard Simon King ask the woman how young she was. Li Ping'er said, "The slave is 23 years old this year." Because he asked, "His end is noble. I'm afraid I won't be able to get close to you." Simon King said, "I'm a very good-natured person." The woman asked again, "You came over here. Does your aunt know about it? What if, when I asked you, how could you answer?" Simon King said, "My house is all in the house on the 4th floor at the back. Only my 5th concubine, Pan, lives alone in a building in the front garden. You dare not take care of me." The woman asked, "How much is his 5th wife?" Simon King said, "He is the same age as my eldest wife." The woman said, "It's good again. If you don't think the slave is tainted, I will worship him for 5 years. Mom, just be a big sister. Tomorrow, I will ask his aunt and 5th mother for their feet, and I will make 2 pairs of shoes myself to show my affection." After saying that, he moved the golden hairpin on his head. He picked up 2 of them, carried them on Simon King's head, and said, "If you are in the courtyard, don't ask Hua Zixu to see you." Simon King said, "You understand." The 2 of them were glued to each other until the 5th watch. The rooster crows outside the window, and the east becomes increasingly white. Simon King is afraid that Zixu will come home, so he gets dressed and walks over the wall in front of him. The 2 agreed on a secret signal, but Zixu was not at home. So they asked the maid to cough secretly on the wall as a signal, or throw a tile first. Seeing that there was no one there, she then climbed up the wall. Simon King used a step stool. Get over the wall. The two were making peace with each other by dividing the wall, stealing jade and fragrance, and cannot walk through the door. How do the neighbors in the street know? There is poetry to prove it. The moon is falling, the flowers are falling, and the dark night is long. It is suspected that it is a dream to meet in Gaotong. Late at night, I secretly shine a light on the silver vat, as if I am afraid that I will look at the light. But Simon King climbed over the wall and walked to Pan Jinlian's room. Jinlian was still asleep, so she asked, I don't know where you went yesterday, and this night? You didn't even say a word to me, Simon King said. Brother Hua asked the boy to invite me to the courtyard to eat. After drinking for half the night, I escaped and came home. Although Jinlian believed the old story, she still had some doubts in her heart. One day, while Meng Yulu and I were doing acupuncture on the garden pavilion after dinner, we suddenly saw a tile hitting in front of us. Meng Yulu lowered his head to take the shoes and didn't see them. Pan Jinlian looked around with only one eye and saw a shadowy white face on the wall next door. After exploring it, she went down. Jinlian hurriedly pushed the jade tower, pointed it at him, and said, Third sister, look at this. It's the big girl from the flower family next door. She thought she was going up the wall to look at the flowers. When she saw us here, she went down. That's all. In the evening, Simon King came home from a banquet and entered the Golden Lotus room. Jinlian took the clothes from him and asked him. He didn't eat any food or tea. He staggered and just walked to the front garden. The Pan Jinlian thief paid attention and looked at him secretly. After sitting for a long time, I saw the girl in front of me standing on the wall, and Simon King stepped over the wall on the step stool. Over there, Li Pinger entered the room, and the two men chatted without talking. Pan Jinlian returned to her room, tossed and turned, and didn't sleep all night. At dawn, Simon King came over and opened the door. The woman was sleeping on the bed and ignored him. Simon King looked a little ashamed and sat down close to his bed. When the woman saw him coming, she jumped up and sat down, holding his ears with one hand, and cursed. What a heartless thief. Where did you bring it yesterday? You made me angry all night. What you did is now mine. I know I'm impatient. Let me tell you the truth as soon as possible. How many times have you stolen from the prostitute from the Hua family next door? Tell them one by one and I will give up. But if you don't hide a word, tomorrow you will pass by with the front foot, and I will yell at you with the back foot. Get up and teach your heartless prisoner to die without a burial place. You let this man spend the night in the courtyard, but you want his wife here. I will teach you that you can't eat and leave. He said yesterday in broad daylight. Third sister Meng was doing her homework in the garden, and she saw the eldest daughter of his family resting her head over the wall. It turned out to be the slutty seductress who came to seduce you. You still coaxed my mother. The day before yesterday, his house na Wangba, he asked you to go to the courtyard in the middle of the night. It turns out that his house is in the courtyard. After hearing this, Simon King pretended to be a short boy in a panic, fell to his knees on the ground, and said with a smile, You weird little oily mouth, forbid it. Speak louder. To tell you the truth, he asked you to your age like this, and asked for shoe patterns tomorrow. Each of them made a pair of shoes for you. He wanted to recognize you two as sisters, and he would rather be his sister. Jinlian said, I don't want that slut to recognize my brother or sister. He wants a man, and then he comes to offer a little yinkin. My mother can't let go of people like sand, and she is willing to let you do it in front of me. Go to hell. As he said this, he pulled his pants open with one hand, only to see that the words were soft and fluffy, and the silver holder was still on it, and asked, Tell me the truth. How many times have you had sex with a prostitute? Simon King said, It only takes one chance to get a lot of him. The woman said, You bet. I'll make him as soft as a nose, as thick as jelly in one stroke, but paralyzed by the wind. The same goes for some tough guys. People's hearts. As he said this, he grabbed the holder, hung it up, and cursed, Shameless robber, I didn't find it anywhere. It turned out that he took this traitor out secretly and messed with that prostitute in Japan. Simon King said with a smile on his face. It's strange. You little whore, the hemp prisoner is dead. He repeatedly taught me how to bring the clothes back, and he will come to kowtow to you tomorrow and make shoes for you. Yesterday, I made him. The girl has gone to take the place of the Wu family. Today I have brought you this pair of hairpins with the Chinese character for longevity. Then he took off the hat, pulled it off on his head, and handed it to the Golden Lotus. He took the Golden Lotus into his hand and looked at it, but he saw 2 azure green hairpins with exquisite gold and longevity characters. They were made by the emperor and came out of the palace. They were very ingenious. Jin Lian was filled with joy and said, that being the case, I won't say anything. When you go over there, I'll watch the wind with you and teach you how to do it freely. How do you feel about it? Then Simon King hugged her with joyful arms and said, my dear son, that's exactly what it is. I raise a son in vain, and I don't have to live in gold and silver. I just want to fall in love with you when I see the scene. I'll buy a set of colorful clothes tomorrow to thank you. The woman said, I don't believe in those sweet talkers. Since I want you and me to deal with you too, you have to obey me for 3 things. Simon King said, no matter how many things, I will obey. The woman said, the first one. The first thing is that you are not allowed to go into the courtyard. The second thing is that you have to obey what I say. The third thing is that if you sleep with him in the past, you will tell me when you come home and you will not hide a word from me. Simon King said, that doesn't matter. It's all up to you. From then on, Simon King went to sleep and told the woman, how come Li Ping'er was born so fair? With a body as soft as cotton, a lover of wind and moonlight, and a good drinker. I have fruit boxes and 2 tents, watching cards and drinking, often playing and staying up late at night. Then he took out an object from his sleeve, handed it to Jin Lian to look at, and said, this was painted by his husband in the palace. We lit the lamp and looked at it to act. The Golden Lotus took it in his hand and unfolded it to watch. There are words to prove it. The inner palace is framed with flowered damask and made of toothpicks and brocade. The large green and small green are finely painted with gold, and the inlay is clean. The female competes with the Wushan goddess, and the male competes with Song Yulingzhen. They are accustomed to fighting in the tents. Explanation of the name 24. Spring brings love. Jin Lian looked at it from beginning to end and refused to let go, so she handed it to Chunmei and said, keep it in my box and watch it play in the morning and evening. Simon King said, look at it for 2 days and then hand it over to me. This is I borrowed someone's favorite things to come home to look at, and then gave them back to him. Jin Lian said, how did his things get to my house? I never took them from him. I couldn't get them out even if I beat them. Simon King said, you little servant, don't ask questions, and hurriedly grabbed the scroll. Jin Lian said, if you take one of my sons and make a gamble, I will tear him to pieces. Everyone will not see it. Simon King said with a smile, I can't help it. Just let him finish it off. What do you think? Return this to him. He also has a rare object. I will bring it to you tomorrow. Jin Lian said, my son, who raised you to be so good. You take it, and I will give you this hand scroll. Go. The 2 chattered for a while. In the evening, Golden Lotus scented the mandarin duck quilt in the room, set up silver lamps, bathed the female in bright makeup, and unfolded hand scrolls with Simon King, enjoying the joy of flying in the brocade tent. I have heard that witchcraft, poison, and evil things have existed since ancient times. After Jin Lian asked Blind Liu to turn his back, it didn't take long for Simon King to turn his anger into favor, his sorrow and humiliation into joy, and she no longer dared to control him. It's exactly this. I'll spare you the treachery of a ghost, but I'll also eat the foot-washing water. There are words to prove it. I remember that when we first met in the study, few people noticed the traces of clouds and rain. At dawn, the Luan and the Phoenix sit on the double pillows, and the silver lamps are half shining. Thinking about the past, dreaming and dreaming. I am so happy tonight that I can fly. There is endless joy in being a phoenix, and they will never be apart from now on.
Alright, this part of the story ends here. Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.